Hello and welcome here to the La Liga podcast, the first podcast that we're going to do every single Monday, and we're going to be looking at all of the games right across the weekend, and it was a very, very exciting first weekend of La Liga action. Barcelona and Real Madrid got off to a good start, business as usual for them, but there was a very, very big upset in Girona as they shocked Atletico Madrid to hold them to a surprise draw. So we're going to be looking at all that and more coming up in this week's podcast, as there is lots to discuss from the opening round of La Liga fixtures. There was 18 goals across 8 games from Friday to Sunday. There's 2 more to follow tonight, but we are going to start on the Friday night when it all kicked off between Leganes and Alaves. That kicked off at 8:15 local time on Friday evening, and it was quite a tense affair. I think 2 teams coming into this game. Leganes just survived last season, operating on a very, very minimal budget, and then there's Alaves, who had a very strong season last season, fell away towards the end of the season a little bit, but of course they reached the Copa del Rey final, and that was always in their minds. They have lost their coach, Mauricio Pellegrino. He's gone to Southampton, and they have lost a few key players. You know, you think about the 2 that are currently at Real Madrid. Theo Hernandez, who at the time was on loan from Atletico, he was really good at Alaves last season, and also Marcos Llorente was a really, really big player for them in midfield last season. But Alaves certainly came out of the blocks quickest. They started on the front foot, and they did reward themselves with a penalty about 17 minutes gone, and it was a really clumsy penalty that was given away by the fullback Rico. He stumbled into his man. It was a poor piece of play, but the resulting penalty from Manu Garcia was a really poor one. Straight down the middle, it was straight at the goalkeeper Cuellar. He didn't even have to move, and it was one of those penalties where you're sort of putting it down the middle and you're hoping the keeper dives either way. That didn't happen though. Straight down the middle, the keeper stood his ground, and Manu Garcia was looking with his head in his hands, and that was a really big moment, because if Alaves took the lead there, the confidence might have been drained from Leganes a bit, the crowd might have been dampened, but it didn't happen for them. And then a few minutes later, Gabriel actually sent Leganes ahead. About the 24th minute gone, there was a foul given away on the edge of the box by Wakaso. Again, pretty clumsy play. The ball was actually struck towards goal, but it did take a big deflection off the wall, and then it was a poor piece of play by the goalkeeper Pacheco, who parried it. You know, as a keeper, if you're going to parry it, make sure you're parrying it away from the danger zones. If you can't collect the ball, at least make sure it's out the way of oncoming players. That didn't happen though. He parried it straight into the path of Gabriel, who had a simple tap-in finish, and it was very much quite a tense game towards the end. Leganes clearly got their lead. They were happy to stick with it. They did dominate the game. You know, in terms of ball possession, it was very much 50-50 between the both sides. It was quite an open game in that respect, but in terms of efforts on goal, Leganes dominated the game. 16 shots in all, 9 of those coming on target, whereas Alaves could only manage 6 attempts on goal in the entire game, 3 of those on target, and of course one of those was that very decisive penalty miss by Manu Garcia. But it was a really good win for Leganes, a good start to the season for them. They really did well to survive last season in La Liga, and they'll be hoping once again to sort of shock the table. I think a lot of people expect them to go down this season. People feel like they probably shouldn't have maybe managed to stay up last season, so this season could have been the season where they were going down, but they've certainly started well, and work to do for Alaves, who probably should have come out of that game with more. They'll be looking at that at a few missed points, but it's certainly business as usual for them. They'll be looking to get a lot of their points at home, as they will do for the remainder of the season. The next game from that was actually also on the Friday evening, straight after that game, 10:15 local time. There are some pretty late fixtures in Spain this season. The times of the games have slightly changed, and it was Valencia against Las Palmas, and I was really interested to see how this game turned out, because I thought the most important thing for Valencia is to get off to a good start, particularly at the Mestalla. You know how the supporters can turn at times there. It's so important to use the crowd, and they did that. They really started well. Credit to them. Under Marcelino this season, I think we're going to see a big improvement in Valencia. They started well on the front foot. Simone Zaza, they've made his permanent transfer permanent this summer from Juventus, and they did really, really well. They came out of the blocks, and early on they were having shots. Chichizola, the goalkeeper for Las Palmas, did have to make a number of saves throughout the game, but in the 22nd minute Valencia did make the breakthrough. It was a ball on the edge of the box. Carlos Soler, who's going to be a really good player to watch this season, a young player that broke through towards the end of last season. If he can have another good campaign, his stock is going to rise massively, because it looks like he's got very big talent indeed. He teed up Simone Zaza, who was outside the box, and he didn't smash it. It was a place finish from Zaza, a really, really nice finish into the bottom corner. Goalkeeper had no chance. And a good start for him as well, because you remember he was on loan for the second half of last season at Valencia. Zaza, he scored a few goals, certainly a memorable one came against Real Madrid, that sort of volley on the turn, magical goal that was. And if Zaza can get a bit of confidence, he's still pretty young, he's still developing as a striker. If he can have a good season, that will stand Valencia in very, very good stead indeed. But it was then what followed which sort of changed the game, put Valencia very much in the ascendancy. On about the half an hour mark, Alen Halilovic, of course, once at Barcelona B, now at Las Palmas on loan, he got sent off. That was a tackle on Jose Luis Gaya. It was a very bad tackle from Halilovic, but I do think the red card is a bit harsh. I think what it is, it's a bouncing ball. Halilovic is going into the tackle. Yes, his foot is high, his studs are showing, so I can understand why the referee would go for the red card. But I think the first game of the season, it wasn't malicious. Halilovic isn't a malicious player. He wasn't trying to hurt Gaya, but in the rule book, a red card is what it was, and Las Palmas were down to 10 men, and they did struggle. Having said that though, even with 10 men, Las Palmas did actually manage to dominate possession. They ended up with 52% possession. They still had a lot of the ball, so I think to lose to Valencia on the opening day isn't the end for Las Palmas. It's not too much of a bad result. I think even with 10 men, they still tried. They tried to play their way, their style. They do play an attractive brand of football, but I think Valencia were very, very good. They did take advantage of the 10 men. They dominated in terms of goal attempts. They had a lot of attempts on goal. If it wasn't for Chichizola in goal, it could have been more. He denied João Cancelo from close range. Zaza was close to getting another nice volley, tipped over the bar from the goalkeeper. So it could have been more on the night for Valencia. I think a lot of the fans would have liked a second goal just to give that security. But I think Valencia certainly got off to a good start under Marcelino. They got a win. They got the 3 points. And that's the most important thing for them. They have to get that momentum going. They have to get that positive energy around the Mestalla. Because when Valencia get on a run, you saw them a few years ago under Nuno, where they were very, very good. They were very, very confident. They made the Mestalla like a fortress, and they managed to finish inside the top 4. They were even knocking on the door for top 3 at some point, and that's so important. So they need to get that spirit back. Marcelino plays a nice style of football. They've got some good players in there now. They've also brought in a few new signings. They brought in the likes of Gabriel from Arsenal. They brought in Murillo from Inter Milan. That will strengthen them massively defensively, and I think it's going to be a big season for Valencia, and I think we're all hoping that they can do good things. They're a big team. They're a big club. They've got a fantastic tradition there. They've been around for a long, long time at the very top of the game as well, and I think we all want to see them back to their very best. Now on to the games that took place on Saturday, and the earliest kickoff there was 6:15 local time. That was Celta Vigo against Real Sociedad, and this one on paper looked like a really, really good contest. This one looked like it was going to be end-to-end. It was going to be a lot of chances. Both teams that like to attack, play a good style of football. Both of them, of course, with exciting managers, and Zue is at Celta Vigo, his first season as a manager in his own right, after being Luis Enrique's assistant for so long. And of course, Sociedad with another former Barcelona connection, Eusebio Sacristan, who was in charge of Barcelona B and also played for Barcelona as a player. He's in charge of Sociedad, and they had a really good season last season, so it was interesting to see what was going to happen in this game. And I must say, Celta came at the box really, really well. I watched them a few times in pre-season. They played very nice football. They played against Roma in pre-season, and they completely wiped the floor with them. So I was interested to see how well Celta Vigo played, and they came out and they started very, very well. And it was a new signing, actually, Maxi Gomez, that got them off the mark, and it was a really, really good improvised finish. The ball was bouncing around, it was in the air, and he volleyed it home. The Uruguayan forward, pretty young, they brought him in, his first ever move abroad. He's looking like a good signing already. 2 goals on his Celta debut. But then there was a bad mistake, a really bad mistake from their goalkeeper, Alvarez, Celta Vigo. He kicks the ball out, and it's clever from Mikel Olazabal, because he's very, very quick to see that he can have a go, and he can have a go and try and get it on target. That's exactly what he did. It was a mistake from Alvarez. He kicked it straight out to Mikel Olazabal, and he smashed it straight in the back of the net from about 20-25 yards out. And this is a player that I am very, very excited about. We all saw him last season when he scored the winner against Barcelona, of course, and not only that, but all through last season, he was really threatening to break through. A young player with a lot of talent. He's quite versatile in the way that he plays. He can take up quite a few positions across the attacking fronts, and he's really, really good in terms of scoring goals and also making goals as well. So just like Soler at Valencia, Oyarzabal at Real Sociedad has got a really big season ahead of him. If he can be consistent, if he can impress once again this season, he could become a very, very big player indeed. But it was another goal for Gomez in the second half. He'd just been booked, coincidentally, brilliantly, but he did get a goal that once again bouncing around. He's improvising. It was a good finish. There was a ball in from the corner. It was sort of headed down, and then he managed to finish it across the goalkeeper. A good finish from him. Sociedad then were making a few changes. They brought on Wanmi, who did play a part for them last season. He came on a few times and scored some important goals, and it was no different here. Celta, though, defensively in this game, I wasn't fully convinced of them. I think Unzué still needs to work on them defensively, which is quite surprising because when he was at Barcelona, Unzué, he did focus a lot on the defensive side of the game. He did do Luis Enrique's defensive tactics quite a lot. You think about set pieces, free kicks, Unzué was very much on top of all that. So I was surprised to see some defensive fragilities in Celta Vigo, but certainly they do have a lot of threat going forward, and so do Real Sociedad. And it was Wanmi that popped up with the goal. It was a mistake at the back from Celta. The ball was played in that the defender failed to intercept it. Wanmi finished it quite comfortably across the goalkeeper, and that was 2-2. 10 minutes to go, and it looked like then that was going to be that. That looked like 2-2. Two good sides, two attacking teams come out. They gave everything. It was end to end, but there was still a big moment to happen in this game, and it came 2 minutes from time. It was a really, really dubious penalty. It looked to me like the contact started outside of the box, and it was one of those where the two players come together, one goes down, and he's inside the box when he goes down, and the referee's got to make the decision on whether it's a penalty or a free kick. Now, the contact for me starts before the player enters the box, and that's the important thing. It starts before, so for me it should be a free kick, not a penalty, but the referee did award it to Sociedad, and fair play, Willian Jose stuck it away so well. The pressure was on, a few minutes to go in the match. This was the match-winning moment, but he tucked his penalty away absolutely fantastically, and another striker that could have a very good season, just like he did last time out. So Sociedad got a really good away win. Winning at the Balaidos is not easy at all. Celta showed a lot of promise, but they still showed they need to, do a few things to make themselves really competitive once again in the top half and looking for those European places. But two good teams playing good football. There was a lot of chances. It was a really exciting game, very much a 50-50 match. Either team could have won it on the day, but Sociedad did come away with the vital 3 points from this tie. And now we come on to what was, I think, one of the most exciting games of the weekend, and it was really, really refreshing to see a team like Girona promoted to La Liga, one of the first times they'll ever step out on the pitch with Atletico Madrid, and it was an absolutely outstanding effort from them. Really it was. Their fans were terrific. There was an unbelievable atmosphere inside the stadium for this one. 8:15 it kicked off local time, and they absolutely came flooding out of the blocks. They hit Atletico Madrid in that first half with absolutely everything they had, because I have not seen for a long time a team go face to face with Atletico, a Diego Simeone team, a really tough group of players. Face to face with them, Girona stood up and they said, you know what, we're going to take you on. Because a lot of the time you see Atletico Madrid beaten by teams that are fantastic on the ball, that have got brilliant technical ability, and Atletico Madrid just can't stop the quality. But that wasn't the case at all with Girona. Girona just came to them and they battled them and they bruised them off the pitch, because in the air Girona were winning everything, and that has not been said about an Atletico Madrid game for a long time. They really were dominating them in aerial battles, in 50-50 challenges, and the passion, the drive from the Girona players was outstanding. And the first goal came from a header, and it was Christian Stuani, the former Espanyol striker. Could be a really good signing for Girona this season. He got both the goals on the night for them, and I think he's got a really good striker about him there, because he is good in front of goal. He is a natural finisher. He's very established in La Liga. He had a good few seasons when he was at Espanyol as well, and he came in on the header here. Good header. He got above his man. Like I say, they were winning everything in the air, and they got the lead against Atletico. And then you thought, are they going to sit back now? Are they going to sort of absorb the pressure? And that would have been bad, because I think Atletico Madrid then could have shown their quality, but Girona didn't do that. They kept on driving forward. They wanted more goals. They saw blood, and they certainly went for it. And once again, Stuani was there. It was bouncing around. There was a knockdown, and once again he was in there with a header. And within 25 minutes, Girona had a lead of 2-0 against Atletico Madrid, and it did look like a massive shock was going to be on the cards. And throughout the first half, and up until about 60-odd minutes, Atletico Madrid didn't threaten at all. They did not threaten in the slightest. They couldn't link up with their star players, the likes of Carrasco, Griezmann, couldn't get into the game. And I tell you what, if it wasn't for Jan Oblak, it could have been worse for them. There was a chance at 2-0, which was absolutely game-changing. Oblak made the save. It looked like he'd slipped. It looked like he wasn't going to get there, but he managed to get one of those long, powerful arms out to stop the ball going over the line. And that would have been 3-0. That would have been been well and truly game over. But it didn't happen. Oblak was there, as he was many times throughout this game, and Atletico did manage to get themselves back in the game, but not before Antoine Griezmann was sent off. Red card for him. Originally went down from a challenge inside the box. Veteran goalkeeper Arizos came out probably a little bit too rash. He did fly out of his goal. He did look like there was contact on Griezmann. Griezmann went down. The referee, though, decided to book him for diving, and Griezmann was absolutely fuming. He thought that it should have been a penalty. Like I say, on the replay, it looks like Arizos comes crashing out of his goal. He does look like he's really going for it a bit too much, and there was potentially a little bit of contact there on Antoine Griezmann, so I can understand why he would be frustrated at that. But it wasn't given. He was booked for diving, and then what he did after that, you can't do. You can't do it on a football pitch. Apparently, he swore at the ref. He called him a bottler in his words, and then he was shown a straight red card. It wasn't a second yellow for Griezmann. It was a straight red, and he will be now suspended for the next two matches for Atletico Madrid. But it was in fact the player that came on in the first half just before Griezmann got sent off, Angel Correa, which made the biggest impact. He was then playing in the sort of Griezmann role once he was sent off. He was a bit more advanced, he was very central, he had a bit of space, and he made a driving run, got to the edge of the box and unleashed an absolute power drive. A wonderful strike from Angel Correa straight into the top right hand corner, and Atletico Madrid were back in the game, and there was about 10 minutes to go at this point, and then you started to feel it. For the first time in the game, Girona, their fans, the players, they just got a bit nervy, they got a little bit anxious, they were a little bit worried about what was happening, they started to drop a bit deeper. Atletico then were able to get into the game to show their quality, they got fantastic players, and they eventually got that equalising goal, agonisingly for Girona, about 5 minutes from the end. It was a Koke free kick, it was whipped into the box once again. I think Arizos was a little bit rash. He came flying out of his goal trying to punch it. He got nowhere near it. Jimenez got there first and he headed it into the empty net, and Atletico Madrid were level on the night at 2-2. But even then, there was still a chance in the final few minutes. Just when you thought Atletico Madrid were going to go and try and win the game, it was actually Girona still trying to go and win the game, and I thought their positivity and their play in general was fantastic for a newly promoted team to show that heart, that desire, and they very nearly won the game in the dying minutes. Once again, if it wasn't for Jan Oblak, they would have done, but it did finish on the night. Girona 2, Atletico Madrid 2. But the excitement on that Saturday night did not end there. There was one more game to play, and that was at 10:15 local time. Sevilla against Espanyol. Now, I vividly remember this game last season at the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan. Espanyol came to town under Quique Sanchez Flores, and it ended 6-4 on the night. An absolutely mental game in La Liga, one that will go down in the history books. This game, though, was a little bit not quite as good as that. Wasn't quite as action-packed, but even though it finished just 1-1 on the night, there were a number of incidents and a number of big moments in this game. And it all started when substitute goalkeeper Soria, he was given his first start in a long time, and I was really down about this because he only made one appearance in the entire season last campaign in the league, and he actually got his chance to start under Eduardo Berizzo. He'd left Sergio Rico on the bench simply because they got a big Champions League qualifier matches to play in the coming week, so he was resting him. So Soria got his big chance, and in the first few minutes he had to make what was already a decisive save. Leo Baptistao absolutely shredded Sevilla's defence. He ran through the holes that were in their midfield and he found himself in on goal. Soria made a wonderful save, got down low, denied him a really point blank fantastic save, but unfortunately in the process to that he did end up injuring himself, so he had to go off injured. His appearance on the night was ended just 5 minutes in, and Sergio Rico then came on to replace him and played out the rest of the game in goal. But it was very much like that. It was end to end, both teams attacking. Sevilla had marginally a bit more of the ball on the night. Espanyol decided to sit back, mostly trying to absorb the pressure, but on the break they really did have a good go. Through Leo Baptistao they had a great outlet. Gerard Moreno as well was up there, and both of them have pace on the break. But Sevilla did start the game definitely in the stronger manner, and they were threatening. Nolito and Jesus Navas making their league debuts once again. Navas, of course, once a Sevilla player, back again now after returning returning from Man City. Nolito did threaten quite a few times down that left-hand side. Both of them got to the byline on quite a few occasions, cutting the ball back but without reply. Luis Muriel played his first game as well since signing from Sampdoria in the league, and it was an exciting game, but there was a first goal, and it was quite an extraordinary one as well, because Nolito took the corner kick on the left-hand side. He whipped it in, really did have a lot of whip on it, and originally it looked like there had been a goal directly from a corner kick, but it very nearly happened. Pau Lopez just managed to keep out the corner from Nolito, but only as far as Lenglet could then stab the ball home, and even though Pau Lopez sort of got the ball back from behind the line, the assistant saw it, the goal was given, and Sevilla had the lead. But just 10 minutes later, Leo Baptistao, very much similar to that first moment that I mentioned, he was driving through, the ball was given away carelessly by Steven Nzonzi from a free kick. They tried to take it short, they were robbed in possession. Espanyol, like they did all game long, counter-attack, they counter-attack with pace. Baptistao was in on goal, really nice piece of play, and this time a fantastic finish on him to lift it over Sergio Rico into the middle top of the net, and Espanyol before half-time were level in that game, and that was as far as the goals finished. But the events did not end there, because in the second half, Eva Banega, the tensions were rising, it was getting a bit nitpicking, there was a lot of sort of fouls off the ball, things like that happening. Eva Banega was booked for dissent, and what happened was he was given one yellow for dissent, and then he went back to the referee to say something else, and then once again, just like the incident with Griezmann, he wasn't actually given a second yellow, he was then produced with a straight red card. So Banega talking himself into the book, he does have a bit of reputation for that, he's not always got the coolest of heads, but on his return to Sevilla this summer, he has also been sent off in his first game. But it was one of those nights that didn't really happen for Sevilla. I think they definitely deserved the win, they had more of the ball, they had more of the chances. I think Muriel was so unlucky not to get his first La Liga goal. He did absolutely everything but score, rather like Lionel Messi, which we're going to come on to in a few minutes. But I think he hit the post, he had a few near misses, he was denied a few times by Pau Lopez, and he was really unlucky that he didn't get his first goal in the Liga with his new team, Sevilla. But I'm sure there's a lot of time for that. Muriel did look impressive. There was a number of players from Sevilla who did look good. Corchia, the right back. I think defensively, under Berizzo, they're going to need to do more. They're going to need to be more solid than that. They do have a few injuries right now, though, in terms of their defensive reinforcements. They're playing Kieran Lemler at centre-half. They could do with some more defensive stability in there, I feel, if they're going to really challenge this season. But it will certainly be viewed as points drop. They should be beating Espanyol at home. Espanyol under Quique Sanchez-Flores will certainly take a point at the Ramon Sanchez-Pizjuan. And to be fair, they dug in. They were defensively solid. In the end, you could say they deserved it. They more than threatened on the breakthrough. Baptistao, who is another one that could have a good season if he gets off the mark. He's got a goal. What can he do now in the future? But in the end, it did finish. Sevilla 1, Espanyol 1. And now we move on to Sunday's matches in La Liga, 6:15 local time. This one kicked off between Athletic Club and Getafe, newly promoted Getafe back in La Liga following their relegation just 2 years ago. They have come back at the first possible opportunity, and it was a game again which I can't believe there wasn't a goal in this one. It really did look like there was going to be a goal for either team, particularly in the first half. Getafe had their chances, and they will feel like they really did deserve to have a goal in that first half, because it was a free kick coming in from the right hand side, crossed into the box. The defender gets across his man, but he doesn't get there. The player for Getafe gets onto it, and this is the problem with Spain. They still don't have goal line technology, and I cannot believe that in this day and age, with all the leagues seemingly having it, apart from La Liga, Getafe clearly feel, and looking at the replays, it definitely looks like the ball crossed the line. It absolutely does. Yet another moment. We saw it last season with the Barcelona game against Real Betis. It looked like it was over the line last season. Decisive moment. Didn't go our way. Getafe will feel it was a big moment for them early on in the season. They could have taken the lead at San Mamés, but they were denied due to a bad decision once again, where goal line technology could have helped the situation. But it didn't really go Getafe's way. They had a man sent off, Guerrero, second yellow card, another silly sending off. I do feel like there's going to be more red cards in La Liga this season. I think the referees seem to be clamping down on any dissent. I think players really do need to learn to shut their mouths, really. They can't really say an awful lot to the referee in this day and age. They do seem to be clamping down quite heavily on that, and they also do seem to be clamping down on diving, so any simulation will definitely be punished tarnished in the season going forward. But I think Athletic really should have won this game, certainly with 10 men. Aduriz didn't start the game. They too are quite focusing on their Europa League qualifying matches. They've been a brilliant win in the midweek against Panathinaikos away from home. They've got the return leg of that coming up now in the coming week. So Aduriz was on the bench. He did come on though with about 30 minutes to go. He did make an impact. They were really banging on the door. Iñaki Williams had a few chances. Guaita in goal for Getafe was one of the men of the match. Brilliant saves on his part. He really did keep the minutes. But I think overall Getafe did play well in the first half. They had their chances. They had a wrong goal which should have been given, which wasn't. I think Athletic in the second half really did pepper Getafe's goal, but couldn't find a way in. 64% possession Athletic finished with 12 attempts in total on goal. But the problem was for them, they were too inaccurate with their shooting. Iñaki Williams in front of goal had a really good chance, hit it across the goalkeeper, but he put it wide. You've got to be hitting the target in those positions. And under those 12 shots on goal, just 2 shots on target in the entire game from Athletic, which wasn't good enough. They've got to be more clinical in front of goal. It's not easy for them. They can't just go out and sign players. They've got to promote from within. But this certainly for them was 2 points dropped. A point for Getafe at San Mamés, definitely a good result, but they'll be needing to do more, Athletic, as the season goes on. In front of goal, Aduriz cannot be solely relied on for goals. They need more help from the likes of Iñaki Williams. Muniain needs to chip in, and they need players like Beñat and even San Jose in midfield, Raul Garcia as well. They need to help ease the sort of pressure on Aduriz. You can't expect one player, particularly at the age he's at now, to produce all your goals. You've got to start scoring goals right across the pitch, and that'll help Athletic if they can do that in the season ahead, which will be a long season on the squad that they currently have available to them. And now on to the big hitters on the Sunday evening, both Barcelona and Real Madrid in action, and it was Barcelona that took to the stage first against Real Betis at home, and it was an exciting game right from the off. Barcelona came out of the blocks really quickly. They put the pressure on Real Betis. Their pressing was really good. It was good to see the Barcelona way pressing once again from the front. The likes of Alcácer, Messi and Deulofeu all doing their work going forwards and defensively as well. And it wasn't easy for Valverde because he was coming into this game. He had no Luis Suarez, of course. He's still injured for around a month. Iniesta as well wasn't in the squad for this one. Gerard Piqué only on the bench. So I think Valverde did really well in terms of he picked a team which was well to start the game. They were all fully fit. They were all raring to go. I think Mascherano came in at centre-back. He did really well. I think Semedo was brought in at right-back and was outstanding in that role. He looks like a really good player for Barcelona, perfectly suiting the way that we play. And I think in midfield as well, Rakitic alongside Sergio Roberto. Busquets had a really good game in behind. He was pressing very high at the pitch and winning the ball back in some very important areas, which is always what you want to see from Barcelona, particularly at home, particularly against the sides like Real Betis. You want to see them take a few risks. You want to see them press as high as they possibly can and get up the pitch and really put the pressure on. And we had full control of this game, and that's the biggest compliment that I can give of Barcelona, particularly in that first half. It was control, it was domination. We were creating chances, we were looking comfortable on the ball, we were playing some nice passages of play, and I think in general the game against Betis was a really good one. 61% possession in the end for Barca, 15 attempts altogether on goal, and I think it was a really good performance from them. The likes of Deulofeu, Alcácer played his part defensively but didn't really shine offensively. I think Deulofeu had a good game. He played his part in both of the goals. The first goal coming inside 36 minutes, Deulofeu down that right hand side, getting past his man as he had done on a number of occasions before that, gets across his man, puts a very good ball into the box, and it does take a deflection off Real Betis' Tosca, and it was an own goal to start our new season. But just a few minutes after that, it was actually Sergio León who'd broken out for Real Betis. We'd gone to sleep. Mascherano was the only man to actually save us in that point. He was sprinting back, did incredibly well to catch up to Sergio León, and he made one of those brilliant last-ditch tackles that you see from Mascherano. Really nice last-ditch challenge, massive game-changing moment. He saved our chance there for conceding the goal. We didn't do that. We then broke ourselves. Deulofeu down that right-hand side. He took his time. He was clever. He didn't rush things. He didn't panic. He got his head up. He had a look at who was arriving. Sergio Roberto, as he was a number of times in the first first half, making a very good run, energetic, into the box, and Roberto finishes it off really, really nicely. A calm finish once again. He doesn't panic either. He took his time and he just placed it across the goalkeeper. A really good second goal, and that was Barcelona on their way. And I know what you're thinking, you're looking at the score, maybe you didn't watch this game, you'd be thinking, they went 2-0 up in the first half and then Barcelona took their foot off the pedal. In the second half, we didn't press as high. We weren't really in the faces of Real Betis as often. We wasn't as intense as we was in that first half, but we didn't ease off. I think we had a number of chances in the second half as well, and really, Lionel Messi could have had a hat-trick on the night. He really could have, and he deserved one as well. He hit the post 3 different times throughout the game. There was one from a free kick, a stunning free kick that hit the post, and even before that, he'd taken a free kick which looked like it grazed the bar, so you could even say that he hit the woodwork 4 different times. Then in the second half, he was breaking, he was taking on defenders, as you know that he can. He was playing in that sort of false 9 role. It was nice to see him there again. He saw a lot of the ball, and he was advanced a lot of the time as well, which is where Messi, of course, is most dangerous. He took the ball, he hit it, and that caressed against the post as well. And the third one, where he hit the post, you could see that Messi was genuinely frustrated because he got the ball, he got it out of his feet, and it was very un-Messi-like because he absolutely hammered it towards goal. And even that was effective. It smashed against the post, and it just wasn't his night. It just didn't go in for him. I'm sure the goals will come. I'm absolutely sure of that because his performance on the night, even if he didn't score, was still very, very impressive. Deulofeu was good. He showed that he can play a part, certainly as a squad player, somebody who can give us a lot from that midfield role. I think Alcácer has got more to give. I think he was in a natural position. He was more on the left-hand side, which maybe he isn't used to, but he might be forced to do that at times under Valverde because when we defended, the 2 wingers tucked in. They made a 5 in midfield. It made us very, very compact. Real Betis were limited to absolutely nothing really during the course of the game. They didn't have a single shot on target during the entire match. So I think we did well defensively. I think we looked pretty strong apart from the few times we did switch off for a few seconds. But I think in general we had full control of the game. We showed our squad depth in this game because there's a number of players, like I mentioned, out injured. I think we showed that we have the players to compete. We got off to a good start. It's a win. It's a clean sheet. It was a good performance, and we've got players to come back into this team and also potential new signings as well. So right now it's positive. It's a good start to La Liga, and I think hopefully we can continue now in this same manner. And the final game that we are going to discuss on this week's podcast is Deportivo La Coruña against Real Madrid, live from the Riazor, about 10:15 kickoff local time this one was. And I have to say, 3-0 doesn't really tell the story on this one. Real Madrid, yes, in patches were excellent. Their second goal was 44 passes in all, finished off by Casemiro, once again the unlikely scorer, but he does seem to pop up with a number of goals. Yes, they played very, very well in patches. They scored 3 goals, they kept a clean sheet, they got a very good away win at a difficult stadium at times. But I'll tell you what, in that first 5 minutes alone, Deportivo should have scored. Andone, the striker, denied twice by Keylor Navas, 2 chances for him, both of them he should have scored. A striker of quality would have put those away. They had their chances, but just after that then there's a very, very poor goalkeeping mistake by the goalkeeper Ruben. Modric has a shot. It's not even a powerful shot. It's not one that he's got to reach out for. It's simply very poor handling by the Depor goalkeeper. He spills it into the path of Benzema, who unselfishly squares it to Gareth Bale, and that's 1-0. And then, like I say, there's that 44 pass move, good passing play, always on the move. Real Madrid starts, of course, with Marcelo on that left-hand side. He assists Casemiro, the ball right across the box. Deportivo's defence completely asleep and unmoved. Casemiro coming in at the back post, scoring to make it 2-0 before half-time. Then in the second half there was an interesting incident because in the first half Dani Carvajal went down injured. He was rolling around on the floor. The Deportivo players decided not to put the ball out. They didn't feel that the injury was genuine. Carvajal did then get back to his feet like they usually do. You know what happens when players go down like that. Then in the second half there was a Deportivo player down, and Luka Modric decided to put the ball out of play so that he could receive treatment. Now, Sergio Ramos was genuinely very angry with his own teammate. He was unhappy with Modric, the fact that he put the ball out of play. He went over to talk with him. In the midst of doing that, the Deportivo players were coming around Ramos saying, you know what, look, he did the right thing, etc, etc. There was then an altercation with centre-back Fabian Schär. He was right in Ramos's face. Ramos put out his arm, he put it into the face of Schär, pushed him forwards, and Schär went to ground. So Ramos, with a hand to the face, if you do that on a football pitch, it doesn't matter if there's intent, it doesn't matter how hard you do it. If you raise your hands, if you touch the opposition's face, it is a red card. What was he given? Yellow cards, as they both were. It was a strange incident. I'm surprised the referee didn't send him off, give him a straight red there and then, but he didn't. He stayed on the pitch, and then Real Madrid got their third goal. It was a very nice goal down the left-hand side, Gareth Bale at the heart of it. He cuts it back, unselfish, he's aware of his surroundings. Toni Kroos, as we see many times, coming in on the edge of the box. And I do like the way Kroos finishes, because he never smashes the ball. He always caresses it. It's a careful finish, it's a calculated finish, and it was a really good goal, and he's off the mark for the season. Deportivo had their chances though. They did keep trying, fair play to them. They didn't completely capitulate. They did keep attacking. They did keep probing Real Madrid, and I did think it did look like there was a possible goal on the horizon for them. It didn't come, but there was an interesting, once again, towards the end of the game, there was some real chances for them, and it started with Andone, because he had a chance from the penalty spot. Carvajal had given away the penalty 1 minute from the end. A silly challenge. He went completely through his man from behind. A definite penalty kick. Andone steps up, absolutely no power in the penalty at all. There was no conviction, there was no confidence, very much explained the game that he had, and then Keylor Navas quite easily tipped it round the post for a corner. So Deportivo didn't get their goal on the night. Sergio Ramos in the end ended up getting sent off. He led with his arm, he went up, the referee gave him a second yellow and then a red. People are saying the second yellow is a bit harsh, but like I say, he shouldn't have even been on the pitch for that yellow. He should have gone when he raised his arms. It should have been a straight red card, but once again, Ramos not really leading by example. He's certainly not captain material in my book. Yes, he appears in the big moments. I'm sure Real Madrid fans absolutely love him, but simply as a neutral watching on, he's not a good guy. He's not a good guy on the football field. The way that he leads, the things that he does, I just don't like him personally. Let me know your thoughts down below on the incidents from this weekend. Do you think it was a red for Ramos? Do you think that he should have gone the first time around? What do you make of the goal line incidents? What do you think of the way that Spain doesn't have goal line technology? What do you make, of course, of Barcelona's performance, Atletico Madrid against Girona as well, and are there any players that you can see in the coming season really making a name for themselves and having a breakthrough season? Right now the La Liga table looks like Real Madrid at the top, with Barcelona, Sociedad, Valencia and Leganes occupying the top 5. There are still a few matches to play though this evening. Newly promoted Levante are back in action in La Liga against Villarreal from 8:15 local time, and then following that at 10 o'clock local time, Malaga will take on Eibar live from La Rosaleda. So there are 2 more games to come, and we are now also going to take a look at the games to come in the coming week, and of course we'll be back next Monday to look at those games and what happened in a lot of detail. On Friday there's a very, very interesting match coming up, Real Sociedad against Villarreal. That promises to be a fantastic game, just like Celta against Sociedad was this weekend. That game looks very, very good indeed. That's then followed on Friday by Real Betis against Celta Vigo. 10 o'clock that will be local time. Then on Saturday we have more games coming up from La Liga, of course. Kicking off at 6:15 local time will be Alaves against Barcelona. Interesting game there for us. Difficult stadium to go to. We'll be hoping to win, and Alaves will be fresh from that opening day loss to Leganes. Girona will take on Malaga, their second successive home game in the league. That'll be. Levante will also have their second successive home game. They will face Deportivo La Coruña, and then final game on the Saturday will be Las Palmas at home against Atletico Madrid. So 4 games next week on Saturday, and then there's on to Sunday. It will be Eibar against Athletic Club. That will be at 6:15. That's a real Basque derby. Another interesting game that's going to be. Eibar is going to be packed with that 5,000 capacity for that one. Then 6:15 local time, same time as Eibar Athletic, will be Espanyol against Leganes. Getafe will then take on Sevilla, and a really interesting game, the final game on Sunday, Real Madrid will take on Valencia at the Santiago Bernabeu for their first home game of the new La Liga season. That'll be a real test for Valencia to see how far they've come, and that will be it for the round of games. There's no game next Monday, so next Monday we'll be here and I will be able to analyse all of the games from the La Liga weekend in detail. Let me know what you thought of this podcast, guys. I hope you're enjoying them. I'll be here every single Monday to look at the La Liga games. You can always send me your questions. I'll try to answer those. If you've got any questions about La Liga or any of the games that have been played over the course of the weekend, please send me those. I would like to include some questions at the end of each podcast every single week. So hopefully we can keep this going. Thank you as always for your support and your comments. I really do appreciate it. It does mean a lot to me. I will see you next week for more La Liga, but until then, as always, Visca el Barça.